How are we shaped by technology? How will our bodies look and feel in the future? Who are we without technology? My name is Erika. I'm an artist, designer, and movement practitioner, and these questions have anchored my research for the past several years. Through the course of this research, I've been haunted by Carl Sagan's concerns from his book, The Demon-Haunted World. He says, I have a foreboding where awesome technological powers are in the hands of a very few. The people's faculties fall in decline, unable to distinguish between what feels good and what is true. Sagan wrote this 27 years ago, fearing the impact of a technological monopoly stripping us of our agency. This was what brought me to the following two questions as the backbone of my thesis. What is at stake when our bodies and technology meet? How do we localize and safeguard our humanness? Before we can answer these bigger questions, let's start with the basics. What is humanness? Humanness, in short, is the state or quality of being human. It is derived from humanity, which is specifically referring to the human race. Why the distinction? We are living in the age of the Anthropocene, also known as the time during which humans have had substantial impact on our planet. Using the word humanity alludes to extractive and hierarchical methods to prioritize the survival of the human species as a whole. On the other side of the coin, humanness focuses on how it feels to be human, how it feels to be in the physical world, both with people around us and with nature. It approaches the concept of safeguarding what it means to be human with humility. So, how do we safeguard our humanness against the onslaught of technological innovations that are shaping our reality? The impact is direct on both an individual and a societal scale. This is the lens I used to structure my thesis. I approached both of these scales in two parts. First, I designed experiments to reveal how our humanness might be at stake as we become more dependent on technology. Then I proposed how we might preserve it. Let's start by looking at what is at stake for the individual. Technology is now responsible for the majority of overwhelming stimuli in our world today. With broadened networks and more access to people, information, culture, and opinions than ever before, our ability to regulate our nervous systems has suffered. We spend our time glued to our phone screens, distractedly scrolling through social media feeds and completely missing the world around us. Being constantly plugged into this virtual dimension presents real challenges for navigating the real world and has fueled an epidemic of anxiety and depression. Our bodily systems fall into a feedback loop that often leads to dysregulation. Research demonstrates the direct correlation between high hours spent in front of screens and high anxiety and depression rates in adolescents. To demonstrate this dysregulating phenomena, I employed the concept of sound to reveal this tension, or psychoacoustics, the perception of sound and its physiological effects. This is BPM. It is a speaker that has been programmed to use the speed of your heart rate to alter the playback speed of the audio tracks produced. It comes in two parts: a detachable pulse sensor that measures your heart rate when you touch the divot in the center, and a speaker base that is connected through Bluetooth. Both parts click together in the center with a magnetic charger. Just like how listening to that might have made your heart race, this speaker was made to tangibly express how technology is sending us further into dysregulation the more we use it. But did you know our body actually has the natural ability to temper this dysregulation? It's called our vagal tone, and it's controlled by our vagus nerve. Zoe Galley, a somatic coach, shares that vagal tone, the activity of the vagus nerve, is the ability to widen our level of tolerance for sensation and stimuli without becoming dysregulated. And we have this innate ability to do so thanks to our vagus nerve. Our humanness depends on our vagal tone to create balance. And the way we train our vagal tone is to rediscover and prioritize our embodied lives. But technology has taken a serious toll on our bodies. 75% of the world is hunched over their smartphones daily. This impacts both our physical bodies and our mental well-being. You might have heard of the term tech neck syndrome, or you probably might have experienced that ache in your upper back and neck. Why is that so? Well, a typical adult head weighs 10 to 12 pounds. Bending it forward at a 45-degree angle puts it at nearly 50 pounds of exertion. Just imagine constantly holding a 50-pound dumbbell on the back of your neck. What would that do to the rest of your body? In 2019, a New York Times article shared some shocking X-ray images of a 28-year-old who started to grow horns on the base of their skull from spending too much time hunched over cell phones. Futurists have even projected that our bodies will look like this in the year 3000 because of it. So the next question I asked to preserve our humanness was, can we introduce a way for people constantly on their phones to take short breaks that benefit their body and their brain? Can this occur without forcing the confiscation of a phone and instead physicalize the interface? To explore this, I created the Human Break app, a micro-intervention designed to bring us back to our humanness by getting us back in touch with our bodies and our physicality. It works by notifying you to take a human break when your phone notices you've been scrolling on select apps for a while. Clicking on the notification sends you into the Human Break app, where you experience the simulation of the month. These short interactions utilize the physics of gravity to trigger the haptic feedback on your phone so that your touch senses are activated. Then it introduces an embodied challenge, making the entire simulation screenless. This one prompts you to do this. By raising and widening your elbows behind your head, the position acts as a counter to that hunched over posture, relieving tightness in your thoracic spine. The side-to-side action activates your obliques, mobilizing the stiff trunk of our bodies. The entire intervention is 40 seconds, but its consistency is what makes a difference to your body. This is why the app also includes a posture analysis tool, which measures the severity of each posture angle and tracks its improvement through detailed progress indicators. Our humanness is reinforced by our physicality. The more in touch we are with our bodies while using technology, the less likely we are to fall into the vicious cycles of dysregulation and physical degeneration. Now that we've explored this impact on an individual level, let's zoom out to the societal scale. According to Michael Best, Chancellor's Professor at Vanderbilt University, we are now refashioning ourselves by redesigning our physical and mental capabilities. Best shares that technologies of human enhancement are the most rapidly developing innovations today. We have transcended past the information age. Welcome to the augmented age. We can't help but be fascinated with augmenting our lives to make fantasy a reality. Our understanding of this augmented age is highly influenced by pop culture and science fiction stories, movies that illustrate cyborgs as the ultimate entanglement of machinery and organic human parts. When we think of cyborgs, we think Terminator. We think of barriers between our bodies and technology removed, and a new type of human species that is faster, stronger, smarter, and better. To dive deeper into these themes, I wrote an interpretation of this future, depicting the techno-infused world we could be headed towards. These stories revealed what was at stake with our current dependencies on wearable tech, as well as our wish for enhancement through biotech. They centered around a body augmentation studio called Bioforming Studio. Set 77 years into the future, in the year 2100, this world appeared like a dystopia. It had unforgiving temperatures and unexpected weather changes, and humans were looking to push the limitations of their bodies for resiliency. It was my excursion into idyllic fantasies of our body's capabilities within the context of our climate futures. The body augments they sought were animal-inspired, like second skin and back ribbing to acclimate to the heat. I used these stories as an ethnographic experiment, sharing them with friends and hosting intimate workshops to gather their thoughts and feelings about this speculated future. And as participants embodied characters in this world, I noticed that 90% of them felt forced to adopt cutthroat attitudes and be out for themselves. It was the act of technologically enhancing the self that dehumanized this world. And when we started to break down what it really means to be human, there was a unanimous craving for connection and care as a community. Our humanness comes from being a part of a community. The Bantu-speaking people of Africa say Ubuntu, which is a person is a person through other people, or I am because we are. And so to preserve our humanness on a societal scale, we need to shift our individualistic lenses and strive for more interdependent and holistic visions of our future. What if we tie people's wish for enhancement with our collective responsibility towards our planet Earth and our communities? What if augments were not for human optimization, but for corporeality and connection instead? This was my final experiment into how we might preserve our humanness in an alternative future. I developed a performance installation called State of Being Apothecary. It imagines a scenario where the focus of augmentation was presented through an anti-capitalist lens. Offering an intimate healing experience, I invited my audience to consider the well-being of our community over profit-driven and competitive motives. This was an entirely different picture of the future than my previous experiment. It detailed one where the warmth of human touch, care, and attention was prioritized over optimizing our bodies. As guests walk into the speakeasy-style apothecary, they fill out a diagnostic card that takes stock of how they currently show up for the people around them. The apothecary turns their introspection into a personalized prescription, offering up select remedies that are meant to make us better for each other. These multi-sensory remedies were created on the spot, and they were either ingested or topically absorbed. The performative act of receiving these remedies role-plays a transformative experience where participants leave feeling more in touch with their embodied lives, more in touch with what is around them, and more collectively connected. Instead of enhancing our bodies, we need remedies that make us more metacognitive and empathetic for those around us. And instead of creating a whole bunch of hyper-augmented individuals, we need to offer people with the ability to be better with and for each other. I'd like to conclude by revisiting the following. While technology can make us feel elite and gratified, what is at stake where our bodies and technology meet? How do we localize and safeguard our humanness? Through the course of my thesis, I designed products to first shine a spotlight on the challenges I've discovered, and then proposed how we can look to preserve our humanness through keeping in touch with our physicality and nurturing our connections with those around us. To quote Catherine Hales, my dream is a version of a post-human that embraces the possibilities of technologies without being seduced by fantasies of unlimited power and disembodied immortality. We don't want to stifle technologies that can help our society. However, we need to remain tethered to our humanness. There is no world where we're human without technology now. How we preserve our humanness, though, is most crucial to how our future unfolds. Thank you.